let's hear the question from this very low-rated anchor at CB.
Thank you, President Trump. Do you plan to ask President Bukele to help?
The Supreme Court said exactly what Marco said, that no court has the authority to compel the foreign policy function of the United States. We won a case 9-0, and people like CNN are portraying it as a loss, as usual, because they want foreign terrorists in the country who kidnap women and children. But President Trump, his policy is foreign terrorists that are here illegally get expelled from the country, which, by the way, is a 90-10 issue.
Well, Mr. President, you said that if the Supreme Court said someone needed to be returned, that you would abide by that. You said that on Air Force One just a few days ago. And they said that it must be facilitated.
Why don't you just say, isn't it wonderful that we're keeping criminals out of our country? Why can't you just say that?
On the fact
Well, they took out food and energy.
Yeah,
conveniently removed the two most volatile and spiking.
Yeah, that's exactly. Without my wife and I, the average age, we have a very young, healthy household.
Right.
Yeah. Sneaky. Next story. El Salvador. Rob, if you can pull up the clip of El Salvador's Bukele visiting the White House and saying he will not return a man the U.S. mistakenly deported. This is from the Reuters. Go for it, Rob.
Can President Bukele weigh in on this? Do you plan to return him?
Well, I'm supposed to have suggested that I smuggle
Stupid
terrorists
question.
into the United States, right?
It's always
how can I smuggle? How can I return him to the United States?
Stupid
Like,
question.
I smuggle him into the United States, or what do I do? Of course, I'm not going to do it. It's like, I mean, the question is preposterous. How can I smuggle a terrorist into the United States? I don't have the power to return him to the United States.
So you could release him inside El Salvador.
Yeah, but I'm not releasing. I mean, we're not very fond of releasing terrorists into our country. I mean, we just turned the murder capital of the world into the safest country of the Western Hemisphere, and you want us to go back into the releasing criminals so we can go back to being the murder capital of the world? No, that's not going to happen.
Well, they'd love to have a criminal, released into our country.
I mean, there's a fascination.
They would love it.
Yeah.
Listen, though. They gave the president that.
CNN was obsessed with a mistakenly deported gang member, framing him as an innocent victim. Bukele and Trump made it clear. This fake narrative has to stop. CNN's reporting is like a broken record, endlessly spinning misinformation. Americans are tired of media outlets playing us for fools. El Salvador's president, Nayib Bukele, who refused to send back a man deported from the U.S., one the media portrays as a regular Maryland man, but others suspect is involved with MS-13. Bukele jokes that he can't exactly smuggle someone into the U.S. to return him, and says they're not in the business of releasing gangsters just because America got confused.
Western Hemisphere, and you want us to go back into the releasing criminals so we can go back to being the murder capital of the world? No, that's not going to happen.
Well, they'd love to have a criminal, released into our country.
I mean, there's a fascination.
They would love it.
Yeah.
Listen, though. They gave the president that stick. That's a stupid gotcha question that the media's got to get out of the habit of asking, which is just trying to expose what's the right question some kind to of ask? conflict. So, look. The right question is what? This is a much simpler situation than the one we were just talking about. Okay? Now, I don't know why he calls the guy a terrorist. That's not what this is about with this guy. Okay?
Well, Trump labeled anybody that's from a gang that's coming in here. Well, technically, I mean, if you think about it, Chris, technically they are. They cause terror. They kill. They sell drugs. They freaking kill women, children, everything.
Listen,
They're technically.
I'm not here to defend gangbangers.
Okay.
I'm with you. That's an easy argument to win.
All right.
What I'm saying is, technically, that's not what a terrorist is under our law. You know that. They got to be doing what they're doing to advance a political agenda. That's why people always get frustrated when we wait when a Muslim extremist does something violent here. But that's not my point. My point is this. This is simple, okay? It wasn't a mistake, all right? They didn't care about the hearing that he had coming up for his asylum claim. When this guy has his asylum claim, he is not going to get asylum. He has no legitimate basis for it. Well, I'm afraid they're going to kill me there. No. It has got to be a specific and articulated threat to you. He should be brought back, give him the hearing so you can prove that you respect due process, and he'll go right back. That's the end of this story. This is what I call a non-controversy to go after Trump, and he handed them the stick. And that's what's going to happen. They're going to get him. They're going to bring him back. Don't ask El Salvador's president. It's embarrassing for us. He's got nothing to do with it.
But apparently, so this guy that, mind you, CNN, not CNN, the majority of the mainstream media. So this guy, the government has found out that this guy has not only connections, he's probably in MS-13, and none of us know. But you know what they labeled him? A hardworking father departed and the family torn apart.
Maryland man, they call him. Maryland man,
exactly.
born and raised in El Salvador and a MS-13 gang member. Maryland man.
And mind you, and listen, he goes in, I don't know if we're going to show up, he goes in on 𝐾𝐿 Collins and CNN, which I normally would be like, you know what, kind of, take it easy. But enough is enough. And actually, I'm happy that he's doing it. Like, we're talking about, think about this. How many thousands of people have Homeland Security, Tom Homan, Kristi Noem, gotten the hell out of our country? I haven't heard of one illegal raping or murdering an American, okay, since Trump has been in. It's shocking, all right? It's amazing. So there's one guy that everybody's up in arms with, and they're making him seem just like when Trump in the first administration killed Soleimani, you know what they called him in the media? He was a freedom fighter, and they killed him. It's absolute horseshit, and CNN should be embarrassed. How many more BS stories are we gonna have to hear? They're worried about one guy, one freaking guy who was in a gang. And then Miller over here even explains, the guy went to court twice. They said he had a deportation order. That means you don't belong in here. Okay, and it's embarrassing, bro, in front of the freaking president who's saying, you want us to ship back a guy that's probably killed and murdered? Hell no, it's embarrassing.
Rob, what clip do you have?
So I have two of the clips that Vinny had mentioned where Trump calls out 𝐾𝐿 Collins, if you'd like that. Then I also have Bukele offers the U.S. help to detain criminals. Another clip of Bukele praising Trump for the border crisis and asks him why the media won't report on it. And then finally, Stephen Miller debunking the narrative that the Maryland man should not have been deported to El Salvador.
Why don't you start off with the 𝐾𝐿 Collins?
Cool.
Do you have any questions, please?
President Trump.
No, let's not start
Mr.
with
President.
CNN. They're just so
Mr. President.
wrong.
So that's the first one.
I love that.
Here's the second one. He goes back and does this again.
Well, Mr. President, you said that if the Supreme Court said someone needed to be returned, that you would abide by that. You said that on Air Force One just a few days ago. And they said that it must be facilitated.
Why don't you just say, isn't it wonderful that we're keeping criminals out of our country? Why can't you just say that? Why do you go over and over? And that's why nobody watches you anymore. You know, you have no credibility. Please, go ahead.
President Trump.
Like, can you blame this guy? Like, could we just really fast, and I'm sorry to take more time, can we just, like, he's fed up. How much more crap, especially from CNN? How many more mistakes? How many more lies? I had to make a list, Pat. Russia collusion, okay? This is all CNN. Nick Sandmann case, lies. Jussie Smollett, hoax, lie. Hunter Biden laptop. COVID lab theory. Joe Rogan on horse dewormer. Trump's fine people line. January 6th, Kyle Rittenhouse, they lied. Hands up, don't shoot, they lied. The crying border kids photo, lie. The horse whipping at the border, lie. The most peaceful riots, lie. Fake COVID hospitalization, overload stories. You guys remember that? Brian Stelter's disinformation segments. How much more? Are they never going to shift gears? Like, are they never going to stop? I get reporting. Hold people's foot to the fire. You are literally in the White House talking about one freaking guy who is an MS-13. Pat, we lived in Cali for how long? How, to get into MS-13, is it just you sign up and you join in? How evil do you have to be in this freaking gang?
Yeah, they have a form. You just go to DMV.
Exactly. It just boggles my mind that you're in the White House, the guy from El Salvador who had the most dangerous country, now he has the most safest, and that's what she's worried about? This one freaking guy? Eric, it drives me bananas.
You are 100% on it, which blows me away that she actually even asked that question, Chris. I mean, CNN management must have been like,
doesn't blow me away.
Naturally, the discussion devolves into a media roast. They accuse CNN and others of blowing up the story and call out specific reporters like 𝐾𝐿 Collins. Trump's interactions with her are played. He's visibly annoyed, accusing her of pushing the same question repeatedly and claiming she has no credibility. It's very grumpy uncle at Thanksgiving dinner vibes. The gang goes full rant mode from there, listing off media narratives they think were false or misleading. Russia collusion, Hunter Biden's laptop, COVID panic stories, Jussie Smollett, etc. And asking why the media keeps spinning stories that they argue are disproven or sensationalized. The main emotional thread is, why are we spending all this energy on one possibly violent gang member when we should be talking about broader wins like the drop in crime in El Salvador and stricter immigration enforcement? And there you have it, a volatile cocktail of political hot takes, cable news rage, immigration drama, and that special kind of emotional unraveling that only happens when everyone's been talking for too long and the Red Bull has worn off.